So the story, it's a coming-of-age story about these two kids who are kind of old enough to maybe leave home and spread their wings, but they're living in a traditional household where their father's a butcher and he wants them to help the family business. So while this is bubbling away, something out of very left field comes to cast a shadow over the family. There's a witch in the woods that targets the family for a reason that they're not quite sure about. So it's a hard one to explain in a way, but yeah, that's how I would kind of wrap it up. I've just spent several years writing scripts. I've written 7 or 8 scripts after Horseman, and there's only one project, Grass Widow, that I've actually budgeted, scheduled, location scouted, that we're trying to finance now with my producing partner on that one, Diana Ward. Obviously financing takes a while, so that's where the idea to go do Bloodlands came up, because I was like, I've just spent 5 years sitting in a room writing, which was a great journey, but I just couldn't stand the idea of sitting in my room for another year waiting for the finance to come together. And I had no interest in doing another micro-budget kind of production after Horseman for obvious reasons, but I couldn't ignore the technological advances, and I'd done a lot of speaking gigs since Horseman talking about low-budget productions, and so I was still kind of had my finger on the pulse of ways to do it better and cheaper. Yeah, like this was a much smaller production than Horseman. Horseman was, you know, for all intents and purposes, kind of like a normal production. You know, like we had a small crew, but we had a proper crew, and we had a proper trained cast and stunt team, and you know, everyone came together over a script they liked. Whereas this was half the crew, half the budget, which doesn't quite paint an accurate picture, because obviously we're in Albania and the Australian dollar goes a long way. So we were getting a very good bang for our buck there. So yeah, it came out of nowhere, the project. It came out of a coffee I was having with my Albanian drinking buddy, who I've known for a few years here in Australia, and he's an actor, and Drita Narbana, and he was telling me, as he always does, about all the crazy shit that happens in Albania. But one thing just clicked. He told me about the blood feuds they have there, which has been going on for thousands of years, really. And I just thought, wow, you could definitely make a film there, and you wouldn't need a lot of resources to do something. You know, you could do a social realist kind of film, and then we added a horror element to it just to make it interesting, to me anyway. And so I said to Dee, as he's known here, Dee, you're going to produce this film with me, and we're going, let's jump on a plane in 3 weeks. You know, 3 weeks ended up becoming 2 months. But yeah, so he doesn't have the normal skill set of a producer, but I know him well enough to know that he would be able to deliver. He knows everyone in Albania. He's a very good talker. He can get people involved, and my skill set as a producer in terms of scheduling and budgeting and all the practical stuff would be able to complement his skill set. So together, that was the plan going over there, and it more or less worked out. I mean, the crew ended up being really good too, because they were pretty switched on. Their English was very good, and they knew the sort of film we were making. You know, they were familiar with horror films. Yeah, I did consider, you know, maybe they should speak English, because obviously that opens up the film to a much bigger market. But I just thought it is so silly to go all the way to Albania and get everyone to speak in broken English. You know, the whole reason that I was interested in going there was to chase an authentic setting. You know, so you would just be destroying that if you got them to all speak English. Yeah. Yeah, it's an action-adventure film. I can't go into too many details because it's just a script with an email attached to it at the moment. But yeah, it's certainly, it's something you could kind of do anywhere, actually. But as I mentioned before, I've written 7 or 8 scripts, so I have a whole slate of things that, you know, I'm ready to chase after after Bloodlands sort of does its festival thing, you know, fingers crossed all that goes well.